So what's your name?
My name is Scott McCabe.
Okay, Scott. And what do you do? What's your responsibility professionally?
Professionally, I am the head of a production department for an international retail company,
Mm-hmm.
and my department is responsible. Production is basically the hub of the wheel. We work with all of the cross-functional teams to provide the time and action to get stuff on the site, the marketing content on the site.
I see. Gotcha. And what are some of the most kind of difficult or challenging things that you really have to look to face in this job?
Relationships
Hmm.
would be the most difficult. Technology is technology. There's always a solution to that. It's the relationships. It's building relationships and understanding that everybody has different goals and priorities. Even though we
Mm-hmm.
all have the same business goal,
Right.
people have different ways of getting it done
Right.
that can often conflict with the way it needs to get done
Mm.
or the best way to get it done.
I see.
So I think that would be the most challenging part of the job.
Where were you when you were deciding to seek out this type of work with Eka?
Well, I had worked with Eka on in yoga
Uh-huh.
classes, and so I first started learning about the practice that he did through
Mm.
that, and so I made that connection first.
Mm.
And then I was just at a part in my life where I'd shifted jobs, shifted companies, and I was really looking for um, that identity, get back into myself of who I really am and what my purpose was and how I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to show up in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my big goals with Echo was really to not have to go to therapy anymore. I was looking for a way to have more self care in a
Mm-hmm.
way that was actionable and wasn't in my head and just thinking about
Mm-hmm.
situations and problems and
Mm-hmm.
actually I know I have all the answers or a lot of the answers. I was looking for the path for the tools
Yeah.
that I knew would empower myself to help myself more than seeking outside.
What were the main challenges, the main sticky points, or whatever that you were working with when you started working with Eka?
Well, one was career.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I left one company, went into a new company, and the exit wasn't probably the finest. So I had left a really bad toxic situation, and in that I started to lose myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to go back and find who I was,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of get rid of some of the junk, some
Mm-hmm.
of the toxins that have been dumped on me.
And in extrapolating to the long term, what was the pronounced long term things that you have seen and are continuing to see?
Right. Well, the one that I wasn't expecting to see was I actually lost 15 pounds, and I think that had to do a lot with the practice that we were doing because I was more in touch with my body, and because it's physical,
Mm-hmm.
there's this it's we just didn't sit there and talk. We actually had practices, and we had movement,
Mm-hmm.
and I became much more aware of my body, specifically my middle section,
Mm-hmm.
and through that it was things just changed. It wasn't a pronounced like, oh, I should go on a diet if I'm going to be healthy in my mind. It wasn't that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I started making smarter decisions about what was I going to put in my body,
Mm.
and as a result, I ended up losing 15 pounds without even trying or thinking about it. Other long term is because I have these tools to tap into. What I'm able to do now is if I'm at work or if I'm in a public situation at a party or something and I
Mm-hmm.
start to feel that that anxiety or stress,
Mm-hmm.
I can just I can chime into it. I can
Mm-hmm.
go, wait, what am I feeling and where am I feeling it?
Mm-hmm.
And he is I show up. So that's number one. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not checked out,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not stressed out, I'm not anxious, and I can actually show up
Mm-hmm.
and be present and understand what's going on, what do I need to do, what is my role,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I don't have to take on a role
Mm-hmm.
if it's not the role I need to take on, which was a past behavior.
Mm.
If something I had to be the hero, had to save the day, I was
Yeah.
that guy, like get it done.
Right. How has the sense of abundance or richness in your life shifted over this last year?
Over the last year since working with Eka, I feel like my life is so much richer. I have a really close group of friends because of the work that I did
Mm-hmm.
and continue to do. I was able to get a group of men together. We meet every other week, and it's this awesome group of men, and we just share with one another. And I know a year ago, I didn't have the courage to do that. I would just commiserate with everybody else about San Francisco's flaky, and so. And I said, I'm done with that. If I want something, I can manifest it. So I'm gonna get a group of people together, and it's just that's different. So that to me is worth so much more than any amount of money that I could put on it. My relationship with my husband is better. We have better communication. I'm able to share with him some of the tools that I have, and it's been able to bring us together. I just feel like I have more energy. You know, a lot of times people talk about time. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And what I've learned is that it's really just about energy. It's about where you're going to put your energy. Am I going to put it here? Am I going to put it there? And what's the value of that? And I found that I feel like my life is so much more abundant and so much. It's joyful. I feel like I have a really joyful life now.
Wonderful. So Scott, who would you recommend this program to?
I would say I'd recommend it to anybody. And I would recommend it to only those people who are ready to make a shift in their life, a true, like, in that space that they're ready to manifest. They're ready to change their life, because it's not easy work. It's not just talking. There's homework. There's soul searching you have to do. So my recommendation to people would be those people who are ready. Whether they think they're ready or they know they're ready.
And given who you'd recommend this to, there's a lot of people out there that are suffering, that are struggling, that have a hard time. What are these struggles that you feel like this type of program really speaks to?
I think the struggle, I know for me, the struggles that it really worked on and helped me with were stress, anxiety. I was very anxious. I think by nature it's in my DNA to be an anxious person, or so I'm told. And people who live in fear. I know I live in and I lived in a lot more fear before I worked with Eka. And I think those are some of the struggles that I dealt with walking into it, and knowing that I was just tired. I was just tired of it. I was tired of being wound up. I was tired of being anxious. I was tired of being stressed out. I feel like and this stuff just happens to me. Why does it keep happening to me? And so I think that people who struggle with that type
feeling
of
like a victim.
Yeah, the being the victim and not wanting to think you're the victim, or say I'm not the victim. I'm a really positive guy.
Right.
But actually being able to face that inner villain and say, actually, I am kind of playing the victim role. Whether I like it or not, it's what it is.
Right.
And living in fear, working out of a fear-based consciousness or unconsciousness.
And why would you recommend Eka? Because there's a lot of coaches out there, a lot of programs, and why specifically this person?
There are a lot of programs, there are a lot of people. I would recommend Eka because of his wisdom and because of his pure love. I actually feel like when I work with Eka, it's truly coming from his heart, and it's not about how many clients do I have, how much money am I going to make, who knows me. It's really about holding that space. He held the space for me to do my work, and he didn't have his agenda, it was my agenda. And it always felt safe, it always felt right. The work that we did was it was just very deep. I mean, there were times where I know if I wasn't going to cry, I was on the verge of crying. I saw tears in Eka's eyes in some of my stories and the work that I did, and it was just beautiful. So there's this energy, this compassion and passion that really hit my heart, and I knew that Eka was the right coach for me.
Given the cost of this program, what can you say about the return on investment? I mean, because money is a big deal.
Money is a big deal, and it is. It's a big deal. It's God, the return. I can't put a price on it. I really can't. I know when I did it, I was like, here we go, big chunk of money. And there is that question mark. Like, is this really going to be worth it?
Yeah,
like, am I going to
course.
get something out of this, or is this, more just Goomba kind of like hippy dippy stuff? And every day, there's something I do that I got from one of our sessions or multiple sessions, or the return on investment, I can't put a price on it. It's definitely worth it, and I know that this is work that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. It's a commitment I made to myself, not just because I paid for it, but because it's actually powerful and it really works.
So, Scott, given this adventure that you've had with Eka, what are your next steps? What comes next for you?
Well, what comes next for me actually is starting next weekend. So when I worked with Eka on my heroic action plan, I was able to own what I've known for a very long time is my purpose and why I'm here. And that's to help others, and to help others have a richer, more fulfilled life. And so starting next Friday, I start my coaches training at CTI in San Rafael. And I'm very excited about that because it was something I struggled with for a really long time, that it was like, oh, you can't do that, you know, all the bad statements in my head about what I can and can't do. And it was such a wonderful gift that Eka gave me to help me do the work that I did and continue to do, that it all just fell into place. I mean, the timing was right, everything was right, the money was right, it all just worked. And so my big next step is to become a certified life coach.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
In closing, is there anything else that you want to put out there to say?
If anyone is out there watching this video, this testimonial, if you will, who's thinking about it, who feels like they're at that pivot point in their life, and maybe you don't even know that's where you are, it's worth it. And it's worth holding the space with Eka. It's worth just showing up. Even if you show up for the consultation, I think if that's the step you take, I believe you'll probably take the rest of the steps because it's so powerful. If you're even at that point in your life where you think, I need a little extra help or I need a lot of help, this would be a great program. This is a great program.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.